Well, first, Maj Toure got himself banned on Twitter. Now, I like Maj Toure. I really do. I was ambivalent about Maj Toure for like a pretty long time period, but I have actually come around to deeply respect Maj Toure. I don't agree with this take, but I deeply respect Maj Toure because he gets shit done. He actually does stuff in the real world. I find him to be incredibly focused. I love what he's doing with Black Guns Matter. I love that he calls Matt Walsh out or called Matt Walsh out for being a blatant racist. And I'm really sad that he tweeted this and then got himself banned on Twitter. And so I'm going to talk about that. I don't agree with this tweet. I don't think Maj should have gotten banned for it, but I understand why he did. And I think that this was a completely unforced error. And I'm going to talk about that. Then we're going to look at, and he responded too on the Black Guns Matter account. So we'll read that. But Maj Toure had this take on Twitter. And again, I have a great deal of respect for Maj. A lot of respect, like more respect than I have for most people. I didn't agree with this take. So I just didn't comment on it because conservatives, when you don't agree with something, you don't always actually have to comment on it. When Maj Toure tweeted this out the other day, he said, "If you do a drag queen story hour for children in my community, I'm going to pull up and assault you. I'll be arrested. By the time I bail out and you reschedule another one, I'll pull up again, smack the fuck out of you once more because I don't give a fuck." I did not agree with Maj on this in any way, shape, or form. I think that this tweet was an open and deliberate violation of the non-aggression principle. Because, again, the non-aggression principle just says, don't hurt people, don't take their stuff. People are allowed to have a drag queen story hour. Now, you might not like that, but the fact of the matter is that living in a free society and pretending you care about liberty is about learning how to coexist with people that you disagree with. If you don't like that there is a drag queen, now I am not in favor of tax dollars supporting this. I am not in favor of drag queen story hour being in public schools. Though that is a different question. But if you are a private organization and you are like renting out a room or something to host a drag queen story hour, and here is the key point, no one is compelled to go to it. If it was in public schools, then children would be compelled to go to it by force of the state. Okay. But if we're talking about a private event that you don't have to go to, that you don't have to financially support, that you can be clear across on the other side of town and just ignoring, then that is their business. Maybe you want to protest the event. Fine. Protest outside the library or wherever they're having it. I don't care if you hold up signs and say, this is stupid, don't bring your kids to this. Fine. But guess what, guys? Parents are allowed to parent their children in the way that they see fit. And if there are probably more lefty parents that want to bring their children to drag queen story hour to listen to a drag queen read a story in full drag queen garb, that is their business. No one is forcing anyone to go. No one is forcing anyone to bring their kids. No one is taking attendance. It is a private event. Private events happen all the time. And if you want the ability to have your private event, then you have to respect the ability of people who you disagree with to have their private event. And just ignore them. That's how the world is supposed to work. And if you are unwilling to do that, and you say if you hold your private event that no one is compelled to go to, no one is compelled to bring their kids to, if you do that, I'm going to show up and assault you. I'm sorry. And again, I have a great deal of respect for Maj Toure. This was a violation of the non-aggression principle. However, I didn't wade into this. I didn't comment either way on it when it came out because I'm an adult and I was like, I don't want any part of that shit show. And so I just didn't comment on it at all either way. And sadly, this tweet ended up getting Maj Toure permanently banned on Twitter. If a public library rents out rooms to organizations, that public library can't discriminate on who they are renting rooms out to. You are not allowed to dictate who in the public gets to rent out the rooms at the library. If you don't like it, don't go to the event, but don't complain when you start forcing the library to turn groups away, if that library then turns around and censors you. This is what conservatives just do not understand. If you are advocating for censorship of groups that you disagree with, then that censorship is going to be applied to you. And you will have no basis at all to scream, censorship, censorship. They hate us because of our political beliefs. Censorship, censorship. If you are the ones advocating for censorship in the effing first place. If you don't want your ideas to be censored, if you don't want your events to be canceled, then stay the F out of it when groups you disagree with are holding events that you do not like. You don't have to go. No one is required to go to an event at a public library. And if parents want to make decisions that are going to screw up their kids, there are probably a lot worse things they can do than go listen to a drag queen read a children's book. I just don't know how this is so hard to understand. Justin O'Donnell says there are no less than 4 family-friendly drag events scheduled at Maj's local library in the next 2 weeks. Isn't that interesting? Anyway, Maj Toure got banned on Twitter, and he tweeted out from the the Black Guns Matter account, which I encourage everyone to follow. Again, I am extremely supportive of Maj's work. Maj Toure is one of the few people out there that's actually doing things that are impacting real lives in the real world, which is why I think it's even more of a shame that he got his Twitter account needlessly suspended over a point that he didn't have to tweet that. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Now, I don't think his account should have gotten banned. I absolutely think he should have been forced to take the tweet down because it was promoting violence. I'm sorry, it was. But I don't think he should have gotten his account banned over it. But I think like one of the things that really upsets me about this is like people are just not being smart. Like Maj Toure had an incredible Twitter presence. He was raising so much money from his Twitter account. He was doing a lot of good work. He was inspiring a lot of people. And it's like he threw it all away to tweet that if you have a drag queen story hour in his community, he's going to show up and assault you. It's just like, it's one of those things, like just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I really do think people need to get smarter about this. Don't tweet that you're going to enact violence on Twitter. Just don't do it. Because the temporary, high, I guess, that you get from sending that tweet is going to lead to you never being able to send another tweet again from your account. And then how much good could you have done if you had just reined it in or rephrased it or just sent it to drafts for a little while and be like, no, I probably shouldn't be enacting violence on Twitter today. That was dumb. Not good. But Maj Toure kind of doubled down when he tweeted from the Black Guns Matter account. Let's read. This happened. Why? Read the thread and retweet solutionaries. When you threaten to defend children from sexual advances, the pedos rally to silence you. It's their chess move. Well, that's incredibly true, but you also should have been able to predict that that is exactly and totally what was going to happen. The real question is, what's our move on the board? They galvanize swiftly to defend their sick shit. When are we going to defend our ways of life, values, honesty about the lengths we are willing to go to promote our values? Well, silly me, but I thought that the values we were promoting were like freedom and liberty, which means the freedom and liberty to disagree in a society built on liberty. You are inherently going to have to deal with people who you disagree with. That's part of the deal. If you live in a society where everyone agrees on every single thing, then you are not living in a libertarian community because you are living in a fascist authoritarian community, because there is no reality in the world that exists where everyone is going to agree on every single thing in any society. The key is to learn to coexist with people that you disagree with. If they are not hurting you and they are not taking your stuff or breaking your stuff or doing anything with your property, then who effing cares? Allow them to live their lives and allow them to deal with the consequences of living their lives. If a parent screws up their kids by taking them to a drag queen story hour every single weekend, guys, I hate to break this to you, but that falls under parental rights. There has been a big push on the left lately to get rid of parental rights as being bad for kids. But do you know who's doing just as much damage to the argument for parental rights? It's conservatives who are trying to take away parental rights from leftists. If you are allowed to have parental rights for yourself, then parents that you disagree with are also allowed to have parental rights. You don't get to say parental rights for me, but not for thee. If leftists want to enroll their kids if leftists want to take the school choice money that you built into your state budget to give parents more options about where to get their kids educated, if leftists want to take that nice chunk of change and create a school where drag queens are teaching every single class, guess what, guys? That is the consequence of living in a free society. You don't have to enroll your child there. And if the kids that the leftists enroll in their drag queen school, if they end up getting screwed up, then guess what? Those are the consequences that those parents and those families are going to have to deal with by building a drag queen school in the first place. Now, again, I'm not suggesting I think it's a good idea to enroll your kids in drag queen school. I do not think it's a good idea to enroll your kids in drag queen school. If I had kids, I would never take them to a drag queen story hour. I would never enroll them in a drag queen school. But freedom means the freedom to disagree. And then you are the ones that have to deal with the consequences of your choices. I do not have to deal with the consequences of parents sending their kids to drag queen school because they're not my kids. It's not my family. And I can come up and get a big I told you so when those kids go off to college and they come back totally indoctrinated into leftist ideology because they've been learning it the entire time. By the way, can we admit that that's actually not that different from what's going on in public schools today anyway, where conservatives send their kids willingly all the effing time. Don't tell me you're all up in arms over a kid going and listening to a story read by a drag queen on a Saturday afternoon when that drag queen is usually fully clothed. When guess what, conservatives, you're still sending your kids to public school all the time to listen to just as worse stories from their effing kindergarten teachers. Y'all have to deal with the consequences of your actions. But living in a free society means that you do not get to decide for other people. Fastani says threats of violence aren't free speech, hence why the word peaceable is in the First Amendment. Well, no, that's not true. Not true. It has to be an imminent threat. An imminent threat. Let's keep going with Maj's thread. Now, some would say it's just a Twitter page. It's not really silencing you. And I get what they mean, but they aren't getting the point. The point is people who want to share sexually explicit things are galvanizing to remove any resistance to their agenda. We're not talking about using the tax dollars to share those things. We're talking about a private event that no one is obligated to attend. Was my tweet aggressive? Yes, we should be aggressive in defense of our babies. Well, your babies. Your babies. Not other people's, bro. But the fact that in less than 24 hours, these people got my account removed speaks to their organized capacity to defend their desires. That's what a good chess player does, weirdo or not. They are this open because they are working while we have been quiet and not galvanizing. Taking one page is easy when you know most of the other men will be silent. We must be organized, vocal, and vigilant in defense of our baby's lifestyle and sane culture. And other places to follow him. I think it's too bad. What a waste. What a waste of a perfectly good Twitter account. Because we couldn't play smart for like 2 seconds to understand that threatening people with violence because they make life choices that you disagree with is going too far.